round number 5, going in with a 5-0 record, almost guarantees you a spot. There is a couple of weird tiebreaker scenarios, but for the most part, a 5-0 record is sitting pretty for the top 8.
Yeah, and speaking of Priest, Pavel on Priest here. Nicslay with the Taunt Warrior, which is a deck that we saw a ton in the previous metagame. People didn't really expect to see nearly as much here, but has had a pretty solid showing.
Yeah, you know, we were theory crafting before it, Brian, alongside Firebat, what kind of decks might be really powerful. And Quest Warrior was one of the higher targets that we felt like was something that people were underrating a lot. Even before the expansion came out, people were saying, yeah, Quest Warrior has a lot of really good tools now in the new expansion. And I definitely feel like people still sleep on the deck, even if they're seeing it perform well now.
Yeah, and I do want to comment on the early game here. Nicslay choosing to play a Dirty Rat on turn 2. If that had, by chance, hit Pavel's Raza in hand, it could have absolutely transformed the power of the deck in the later turns of the game. Even just hitting the Glimmerroot does effectively deny Pavel a card later on.
Well, this is interesting. Meteor is very powerful. More and more you see that Quest Warriors gravitating towards cheaper taunts because they're trying to finish their quest as soon as possible, and you're able to remove their meteors. So whenever they discover something off Stonehill Defender, they're looking for cheap stuff themselves. Shadow Essence is picked up for Pavel here because I think he values his tempo a lot more than just removing, because the Quest Warrior can remove anything that he does, and he needs to try to present threats.
Yeah, if this game goes long, Nickslay's hero power, a little bit better than Anduin's. He just throws 8 damage to the face every turn without having to do any other work. Obviously, you can throw minions in the way, but very often the Priest won't end up having minions, and that will just end the game quite quickly. So Pavel feels like he needs to be the aggressor in this matchup, I think. Actually, I have not played this matchup from either side. I haven't run into a single Quest Warrior while playing Priest this side.
I've played a fair bit amount as Quest Warrior myself, and a lot of problems that I end up running to is because Priest is a lot better at getting through their deck, they hit their win condition a lot faster than I do. If they're able to get Raza and Shadow Reaper Enduin early, the game's almost lost because I don't feel ever comfortable pushing for the quest, because that puts me in a vulnerable spot to get comboed down constantly by their hero power, but I can't win without getting the quest.
Right.
So there enters this weird tension point where unless I'm able to finish the quest reasonably, it's almost as if you both are playing quest. The Priest's on a quest to play Kazakis, Raza, and Shadow Reaper Anduin, and I'm on a quest to try and finish my 7 taunts.
Their quest is draw your good cards, your quest is play 7 taunts.
Yeah, something like that.
Fair enough. It is pretty similar. You do assemble a incredibly damaging hero power either way.
And usually does really depend on your life total. A lot of things like your early acolytes are also such a liability, because normally you can rely on Acolyte of Pain to be your main card draw source along with Stonehill Defender, but Priest has Shadow Word Pain, Shadow Word Hard, Pint-Sized Potion, Pint-Sized Potion, yes, and also Potion of Madness. So there's a lot of ways to shut off that card draw, so things like Curator is huge to be able to finish that quest.
Yeah, Nicslay picking up this Curator off of an early Stonehill Defender, recognizing he needs to accelerate that quest progress.
No!
That's the risk of a Shadow Essence when you have Doomsayer in your deck.
Did you let this go, or would you even dare silence your own Doomsayer?
Silence it. I mean, you can.
Huh.
He does not. He chooses to keep the silence in his hand. Wants to just clear the board here. This is kind of interesting.
I mean,
I wonder if Nicslay just plays a taunt. Yeah, I think Nicslay just wants to play a taunt here just to accelerate his quest. Just throw a minion into it.
Absolutely. Absolutely, because it doesn't really matter too much. Not to mention your opponent's giving up his own board too, which was reasonably sized. What does Pavel have proactive here? He's got a Prophet Valen.
He does have the Kazakis Potion, which can now summon a Doomsayer, by the way.
Oh, you're right. Or it can summon a Prophet Valen if it dies.
I think that Pavel may want to hold on to the Prophet Valen for burst damage later. The whole idea of playing Prophet Valen in this deck, there's no Mind Blast or anything for those big damage combos, but it can give you, all right, nice, he's just getting them.
Yeah,
Holy Smite you for 4.
Yeah, I like this. It kind of improves his pool for the Kazakis Potion, which is kind of leading to what he wants to play. It's a must-remove situation, so if Nicslay can't kill it, which he can with the Execute, Pavel also runs away with the game. So I think it's fair, because you know that your opponent cares about the quest more, and this delays that.
Yeah. Forcing Nicslay to commit mana to removing Prophet Velen here does mean that he's largely unable to commit mana to actually advancing his quest. And here, Nicslay choosing to get the card draw from his Acolyte.
Well, he's 6 out of 7, so it would have forced him. He would have finished the quest this turn and start hitting him for 8, but now he's had to reconsider. Lyra the Sunshard, interesting. Pavel has a couple of options here. You could go for Lyra plays. Instead, he's going to first look for Shadow Visions. Is he looking for a Potion of Madness here at this point?
I think he may be trying to dig further into his deck to try and find Anduin because he recognizes, okay, I'm potentially under real threat here.
Sure.
If the quest does get completed soon, so he wants to find some acceleration of his own.
Didn't really get anything though here. Actually, it would have been super good if he had Potion of Madness already, because then you get Potion of Madness, Spirit Lash, gone up the card.
That would be nice. And there it is, the Doomsayer coming back for another party.
How does that always happen? I feel like as soon as you insert a Doomsayer into the pool, it's so likely that Kazakus revives it. It's almost going to belong on one of those honest Hearthstone cards at this point.
Doomsayers, fresh from Kazakus.
Yeah, Kazakus Potion, summon Doomsayer. Well,
Nicslay can just play into this, play out his Sulfuros this turn. He's only at 13. So, you know, he has to be worried at least a little bit that Pavel may get his Anduin going and start machine gunning him down.
That's where cards like Armorsmith really come into play there. Nicslay might feel like he wants to be a little bit more defensive first.
There's Fireflume's Heart.
But I don't think there's a very clean way to do this unless I'm missing something. Oh, you could just use the weapon to attack.
He could use the weapon, or he could just double attack Sleep. Just get it first turn.
There you go. Pavel's going to look for a big Lyra to Sunshard play or draw Anduin this turn. 13 health is not a lot to work with. Gladys is all right. Helps. Add some life total. Yeah. And there are some pretty nasty combos here. Lyra the Sunshard, Pint-Sized Potion, and Shadow Word Horror. Clears his opponent board, denies a card draw, puts Lyra onto the board, draws you 2 cards. And you get to hero power for free in the meantime. Pavel going to be even greedier. Saying I need to wait for Radiant Elemental or something else. Maybe
I think he may also want to wait for just another more substantial minion coming down here.
Yeah.
Because there isn't very much damage represented by Nixlay's board.
True.
And if he were to develop more taunts, those would all also die to Pint-Sized plus Shadow Word Horror.
True. I was considering more of the tempo that's generated through being able to play Lyra on a clean board, but you're absolutely right. There's a lot more value to be had, especially if your opponent plays cards like Primordial Drake, which you know they have, given that they played the Curator already.
We're getting at least 1 armor here from this Armorsmith, and getting a Fireball to the face.
This is a position where you're so close as the Quest Warrior to feel like you've weathered the storm. But you still realize that one Shadow Reaper Anduin can ruin your day here.
That it can. Looks like it's Lyra time for Pavel, though.
Yeah, he doesn't have to actually even commit the Pint-Sized Potion to this. He can just use Shadow Word Horror. But in case he wants to use Cabal Shadow Priest with the Pint-Sized, for example.
Well, he would miss the Tar Creeper otherwise. Eternal Servitude.
Eternal Servitude can summon this Prophet Valen back on command.
He can also just get another Doomsayer.
That is how you do some cheesy OTK combos with Raza and Shadow Reaper Anduin. I've seen that before. They play double Servitude.
Binding Heal's pretty good, because this is likely going to be a race against that hero power to find his Anduin. So just getting a bit of burst healing can be very valuable.
It misses Lyra.
So now he needs to take damage hitting into it, which can set him up to potentially be that much lower against Anduin when he does come.
waste of a turn too, instead of developing anything useful. But Nicslay also puts his opponent down to 15. This is starting to get really a little bit tight here.
Well, Eternal Servitude, if there is a Velen in this mix, there
There
is
is the Valen.
There is a Doomsayer too, by the way. That was the last time. He could binding heal himself for 10.
Yeah.
Just go to full.
Jeez. Just like that, we're back at where we started. That combo, by the way, if you guys have the dust available, I highly suggest you try it. It's super fun. You play Prophet Valen, they kill it, they think they're done. You Eternal Servitude, Mind Blast, Holy Smite, do other crazy combos.
All right. Velen goes down again, so only that one burst of healing for Pavel there.
Yeah, I like Lich King or Primordial Drake in this position. Primordial Drake is a little bit more hard to deal with now that Pint-Sized Potion's been used. This is one of the arguments for Pavel maybe keeping it.
Drake also hedges.
Branduin?
Well, I was gonna say Drake also hedges against exactly Shadowy Branduin.
Yep, you're right.
So you at least have some threat in the board, but this is gonna be scary.
That might be just the window that Pavel is looking for. I think this might just slide him in there, because there's no more armor gain here for Nicslay, and he can't kill Pavel up to 32 health. That Prophet Valen heal mattered so much the opposite way. So many times we're looking at Prophet Valen for game-ending damage, but what about game-extending heal?
Yeah, I mean, Pavel is 14 health higher right now because of that Prophet Velen, because of the hero power heal, as well as the binding heal. Or no, it's 12 health that higher.
2,
Nope, 7.
That,
I'm just
4,
doing the math.
6, 8 damage right now?
I think he's just off. But does the Loot Hoarder change anything? He can play 4 cards. Actually, this is lethal here, right? Because
he can
he silences the Tar
silence.
Creeper so he can Potion of Madness it.
That's very cute. And actually the right play.
Yeah. Yeah, this, I believe, if Pavel notices the silence to reduce the power of the Tar Creeper, will just be lethal damage this turn.
How does he actually play 4 cards, though?
He plays Loot Hoarder, Cabal, Potion of Madness, Silence.
Oh, yeah, just straight up Cabal. You don't need to
just
steal
play
anything.
it. It's a 4/5.
I was thinking you get to steal something with it, but you're absolutely right. That is it. Boom. Pavel's going to take game 3, and this one was very, very close.
Oh, he doesn't see it. He pinged his own guy.
He still can do it.
Well, now that he drew that, it's still available, I think.
Yeah. See, Pavel, listen, we're here
He's got it now. He's got
We're
it now. He
here
drew
playing
an 80
Hearthstone,
elemental.
and Pavel's here playing 10-dimensional nuclear astrophysics. His ways are not our ways.
He knew
Get
the
on
radiant
his
elemental was
level.
there. He
Get on
just
his
knew it was
level.
there.
Wait, does he have enough time? I feel like Pavel may run out of time, but it looks like he just got it.
There we go. So yeah, Machine Gun versus Fireball. Machine Gun does take it in the end, and Pavel's up 2 games to 1.
Have you seen that level of BM ever with so much on the line here?
Maybe a little unintentional, but yeah.
Well, there you go. Game 3 goes to Pavel, and he's 2-1, 1 game away from being able to go 5-0 to start things off here day 1 of the Europe Sun playoffs. We're going to take a break. When we come back, more action. Will Pavel close it out? Find out right after this break. summer playoffs for the European region. If you guys are just tuning in, Pavel's currently up 2-1 over Nicslay, two players who we've seen on the tour. One player, a world champion, another person playing the upset. If he can do it, he's down 1-2 in Nicslay. We last saw him in 2016 for the Hearthstone Championship Tour, and he's trying to make his way back ever since. Also streaming a little bit here and there. I've tuned in. He's got a very positive attitude. And I love to see Nicslay back, but things are looking a little bit tough right now because Pavel only has to win one more game with his Warlock deck.
Yeah, well, let's get right into the action.
And Nicslay is not going to really switch decks here. He's going to keep his Warrior going, and Pavel, how is he going to be able to utilize this Warlock deck? Now, this is a matchup that I haven't really played very much of, because I rarely run into Warlock decks on ladder, let alone when I'm playing Quest Warrior.
Yeah, I was going to say I rarely run into Quest Warrior playing anything on ladder these days. I have played some Warlock, but can't say I know this particular matchup. But that hand from Pavel is capable of putting out a lot of pressure very fast. Mountain Giants.
Oh dear. It's not just Mountain Giants, but it's also the Faceless Shambler that can be problematic too. And this Doomsayer sets it up perfectly.
Yeah, Doomsayer here prevents Nicslay from having a minion on board he can use to execute a Mountain Giant.
Yep.
So Pavel can just play a Mountain Giant, and there's no way without Nicslay finding some form of damage to activate and execute that he can immediately remove it. And this even sets up Pavel for either a Faceless or life tap second Mountain Giant next turn.
Yeah, Armor Smith is his best chance or his best play here by a long shot. That's not going to really slow Pavel down at all here. This is an opportunity to life tap and play a Mountain Giant for 3. Looks like he's going to coin out and get the Faceless Shambler here first as guaranteed value. I like it as well.
He still leaves himself with the ability to tap into Giant in another turn next turn if he wants to.
Right.
And ensures that he has a target for the Faceless Shambler. And yeah, Nicslay, he can use the Execute to take out the damaged Giant. He could brawl one of them away, but he's not really developing anything himself. He is in a world of hurt against a bunch of Giant minions here.
Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, we have all these new fancy cards, Faceless Shambler from Whispers of the Old Gods, Mean Streets of Gaz, and Alley Armorsmith, but this is pretty much a battle between classic cards in Hearthstone.
Seriously.
We've seen this a lot in the past when Control Warrior took on the old handlock, and I'm getting some nostalgia watching an 8/8 go face against a Warrior that's known to gain a lot of life and stall the game.
Yeah, but this particular Warrior doesn't have all the tools that we had sort of in the classic days. For one, Execute cost 2, so it did mean that when Nicslay wanted to remove that Giant, he didn't really get to do much else with this turn. And also a lot of the armor gain that was traditionally played in those Control Warrior decks doesn't see play in this Quest Warrior deck. Right. They're much more vulnerable to getting burned out, as we've seen in previous games.
Yeah, in the very old days, if you only started playing Hearthstone in the past 2 years or so, you may have not seen this matchup. But back when Control Warrior was actually played against handlock a fair amount of times, especially right after Goblins versus Gnomes, there's this very awkward tension of the handlock player would slowly get into a position where they lose life, and the Warrior would just try to set up this one window where they can kill with Grommash Hellscream. They use a Cruel Taskmaster, set up a weapon, maybe do 15 damage. And that was the entire matchup. And the build up to it was very epic. It was very slow, and people said that was one of the skill testing matchups in that format. And we've largely gravitated away from that because Quest Warrior just actually have a way to get consistent damage out with the quest reward. Having Sulfuris out and using the Die Insect hero power can actually just shoot over it anyways. Before in the past, if you set up a wall of taunts, Warrior could never get through it, and that's how you got your victory.
Right now, though, Pavel has 2 Die Insects in play. He's got 2 8/8s
Guaranteed.
that are just smashing Nicslay in the face.
That you can choose where to go.
Yeah, I mean, this brawl could be huge. If Acolyte of Pain can win this fight.
I've seen we win this. We've seen we win this.
Nope, it's a Giant. It does mean at least Nicslay is not getting smashed for 16. It's just 8 damage coming in.
He could just continue to pressure here by just putting a mid-sized minion. Abyssal Enforcer does damage his own Giant so that the second Execute ends up being strong. You can set up almost equivalent power by playing smaller minions here, just pick a Dreadlord plus some other stuff.
Pavel has seen one brawl, but there's still the thought process that you don't want to put small minions on the board at the risk of losing everything to a brawl, essentially.
Sure.
If you play, say, a Voidwalker, your opponent brawls in the Void Walker wins, that's a disaster. If your medium-sized minion wins, you at least have some amount of pressure. Well, there is a Spellbreaker in Pavel's hand. He could just get 12 damage in here if he wants.
Right, and he's got damage from the hand, too, in the form of Hellfire and the Abyssal Enforcer. So now that Nicslay has committed to the board himself with his 4-8, and it's not easy for him to die unless he trades with the Mountain Giant, the Brawl also cost Nicslay something, too, so he's as invested into this board as Pavel is.
Yeah, and there's no Brawl from Nicslay. He has no Brawl, no way to draw cards. He has a Primordial Drake that can take out the Giant, but with...
Is that it?
I think that might just be it.
That's just
yeah,
it.
I think he can just attack these in... Oh, yes, he...
You just played Tainted
Tainted Zealot
and
Hellfire. Yeah, it's going to end things. So we're talking about all the epic back and forth of the Warrior versus
Really
hand like of
awesome.
old. Pavel just beat his face in.
Yeah, and a classic beatdown of the handlock, too. This is something that you often saw with